PMCs, which stands for private military companies, are private companies that offer military services to governments, corporations, or even individuals. In simple terms, they are organizations that provide soldiers, weapons, and strategic knowledge to operate in conflicts, often in regions where conventional armies cannot or do not want to act. These companies are not a new phenomenon, but they have gained notoriety and influence in modern conflicts over the past few decades. What makes them especially dangerous is their ability to operate outside the direct reach of international military laws. Unlike a national army, which is regulated by laws and international agreements, PMCs operate as private entities, giving them much more freedom to act in conflict areas. The rise of these companies dates back to the 1990s, right after the Cold War, when many governments downsized their armies. Thousands of highly trained soldiers found themselves unemployed, and PMCs emerged as an alternative to make use of this talented military workforce. Since then, they have gone from a marginal phenomenon to becoming central players in many conflicts around the world, offering not just brute force but also intelligence, strategy, and advanced military technology. These companies don't just offer soldiers, they provide complete combat, logistics, security, and even training solutions for entire armed forces. This multifaceted aspect is what makes PMCs such an interesting and, at the same time, dangerous element in the global arena. But which are the most notorious PMCs in the world? Among the most well-known PMCs globally, a few stand out for their reach, effectiveness, and the way they influence global conflicts. Let's start with the Wagner Group, a Russian private military company that gained fame for its involvement in Ukraine, Syria, and several African countries. The Wagner Group is not just a mercenary force. It is widely considered an extension of Russia's military and intelligence operations, despite officially denying any direct connection. Their soldiers are highly trained and bring a level of brutality and efficiency that often places them at the center of disputes and conflicts in crisis areas. In the United States, there's Academy, formerly known as Blackwater. In fact, the company was originally called Blackwater but changed its name to XE Services in 2009 and then to Academy in 2011. Perhaps the most famous or infamous of the PMCs, Blackwater gained notoriety during the Iraq War, especially for the Nisour Square incident in 2007, where its contractors killed Iraqi civilians, sparking a wave of international criticism. Since then, the company has undergone several restructurings and name changes, but remains one of the most powerful and well-equipped, offering security, training, and logistical support services to governments and corporations worldwide. Another noteworthy company is G4S, of British origin. Although G4S does not engage in direct combat operations like Wagner or Blackwater, it is a giant in the private security sector and has a presence in more than 90 countries. Its services range from protecting critical facilities to providing support in conflict zones. It's a clear example of how PMCs don't need to be directly involved in combat to exercise influence and power on a global scale. When comparing these companies, we notice significant differences in their operational methods. While the Wagner Group often operates in the shadows, without accountability and with brutality, Blackwater and other American companies are more regulated but still operate in a gray area where responsibility is often hard to define. Meanwhile, G4S operates mainly in the field of security and protection, maintaining an image of respectability, but at the same time, its operations in conflict areas demonstrate the influence a private company can have on global security. This diversity in how PMCs operate, from brutal mercenary forces to multinational corporations offering military and security services, shows why these companies are considered so dangerous and influential. They are complex entities that shape the outcome of conflicts and global geopolitics in ways many of us don't realize. PMCs have become key players in many contemporary conflicts, especially in situations where governments want to avoid direct involvement or prefer to maintain a degree of separation from certain operations. In the Syrian war, for example, the Wagner Group played a crucial role alongside Bashar al-Assad's government forces, providing not only additional firepower but also strategic advice and training. The presence of the Wagner Group allowed Russia to project its military power without the political and diplomatic burden that would come with using official troops. In Africa, PMCs have an even more notable role. Countries like Mozambique and the Central African Republic have hired the Wagner Group to combat insurgencies and protect natural resources like diamond and gold mines. The influence of these companies is so great that, in some cases, they have almost complete autonomy over military operations, acting as if they were the official armed force of the country. This creates a dependency relationship that often benefits the PMC more than the local government, which ends up becoming a hostage to their services. On the other hand, in Iraq and Afghanistan, companies like Blackwater and DynCorp played essential roles for the United States and its allies' military efforts. They were responsible for tasks ranging from securing facilities to training and developing local armed forces. Even after the withdrawal of American troops, these companies continued to operate in these countries, often taking on the role of national armies and influencing the region's stability and security. One important aspect to consider is that PMCs are also present in lesser-known areas of conflict, such as in the field of cyber warfare. Many of these companies not only provide soldiers and weaponry, but also specialists in cybersecurity, espionage, and information gathering, making them a valuable tool for the countries that hire them. This further extends their reach and influence, raising ethical and legal questions about the extent of these companies' responsibilities in modern conflicts. The growing use of PMCs in contemporary conflicts is not just a military issue, it's also a matter of power, influence, and control. They have become essential tools for countries that want to exert influence without publicly committing, and for governments seeking to bolster their power without relying entirely on their own armies. However, this creates a series of problems, from a lack of transparency to the potential for human rights abuses, as they often operate in areas where laws are unclear or non-existent. The presence and influence of PMCs on the global stage have made it clear that these companies are not just a passing element in wars and conflicts. They have established themselves as key pieces that change the dynamics of military, political, and economic power in many regions. Their ability to operate in the shadows without the same level of accountability and transparency required of national armies makes them an effective yet dangerous tool for any nation or entity looking to achieve objectives that would otherwise be difficult to accomplish by conventional means. In the future, we can expect PMCs to continue expanding their reach and influence. As conflicts become more complex and states seek to avoid the political exposure and human costs of involving their own troops, the demand for private security and combat services is likely to increase. Moreover, technological advancements, such as artificial intelligence and cyber warfare, will open up new opportunities for these companies to reinvent themselves and offer increasingly sophisticated services. However, this growing influence of PMCs raises questions that the international community will need to address. How do we ensure these companies are held accountable for their actions? How do we prevent conflicts from being prolonged or intensified due to the presence of mercenaries who profit from war? And most importantly, to what extent are we willing to allow private military forces to shape the future of global security? The reality is that PMCs aren't going away. On the contrary, they will become even more integrated into future conflicts and military operations. It's up to governments, international organizations, and society as a whole to find ways to regulate and monitor their activities to ensure that the power of these companies does not exceed the bounds of ethics, law, and justice. After all, as battlefields become increasingly privatized, the balance between security and responsibility becomes more delicate than ever. If you enjoyed this video and want to receive more interesting content about the military world, don't forget to leave your like. This helps the channel grow and bring more quality content to you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. We have many other videos you'll love, so check out our playlist and keep learning more about the forces shaping conflicts around the world. See you in the next video.